Nice to be here. Nice to have had the opportunity to speak with some of you already. I'm working at the DIFC courts, and I will be presenting today on the DIFC courts. So I apologize for anyone who's already very well versed in the DIFC courts, but please feel free to ask me any questions. So the DIFC courts are part of the Dispute Resolution Authority. That's the mother organization. And that was actually established in 2014, but we've been around since 2006. Now, the Dispute Resolution Authority comprises a various number of bodies. I'm from the DIFC courts. We also had Mohammed speaking on the Arbitration Center. We have an Academy of Law, which deals with all the ancillary services such as registration of practitioners, code of conduct, complaints, training. And we also have a wills and probate registry for non-Muslims with assets in Dubai or Ras Al Khaimah. So the DIFC courts were established in the DIFC. DIFC is a free zone. So free zone, it's exempt from the civil and commercial laws which apply outside of the free zone. And this is the legal framework which established the DIFC and the DIFC courts, which originally heard cases which concerned the DIFC, but then in 2011, we opened up our jurisdiction, so now we can hear cases where parties have chosen DIFC courts. So we are working in English language and we're common law. That's the difference between us and the outside courts. Our laws are mostly based on the laws in England and Wales and also other common law jurisdictions. We're open to all since 2011. You can choose DIFC courts even if you have no connection to DIFC. And we have 24/7 urgent application facilities and international judges with diverse commercial experience. So constitutionally, we are constitutionally part of the legal system here. The only difference is that we operate in English and common law. And this is our bench. So we have our Chief Justice is from Singapore, our Deputy Chief Justice from England, and we have a wide variety of common law judges as well as local judges who are trained in both the Dubai civil law system as well as the English common law system. And they also have extensive experience in arbitration as well. So this is what I was talking about earlier. So originally, we could only hear cases where there was a connection to the DIFC, but since the change in the law, parties can opt in to DIFC court jurisdiction, either in the contract or after a dispute has happened, and this is, or has arisen, and this is akin to an arbitration clause, but you choose the DIFC court's jurisdiction and you can also choose any governing law. So it doesn't have to be DIFC law per se, you can have any governing law of the contract. These are overriding objectives which you find in the court rules, which are based on the civil procedure rules of England and Wales. So we have 3 levels of jurisdiction. The Small Claims Tribunal is based on the Singaporean model, and that hears cases, as the name suggests, small claims, which is claim amounts up to 500,000 dirham, or with agreement up to 1 million dirham. Or if it's an employment case, regardless of the value of the claim, parties can choose Small Claims Tribunal jurisdiction. And the difference between this procedure and the procedure which would apply for higher value claims is that there are no lawyers, normally. It's confidential. And inbuilt in the process, you have a consultation, which is a mediation session. And 90% of cases settle at the mediation stage. Then you have the Court of First Instance, which is 1 judge. And our final level of jurisdiction is the Court of Appeal. That's 3 judges. And that's the final level of jurisdiction. There's no further appeal beyond that. So enforcement. So if parties choose DIFC courts, or if they're already governed by DIFC court's jurisdiction, and then they get a judgment and they want to enforce it, how would they go about enforcing it? In the DIFC, we would enforce it ourselves. If they want to enforce in the other emirates, there's the Federal Civil Procedures Law. If they want to enforce in the GCC, there's a multilateral treaty between the UAE and all the other countries in the GCC. And then alongside the treaties to which the UAE is party, you have a number of memoranda, which I've been working on with my colleagues, to ensure enforcement or to set out the procedure for enforcement in other jurisdictions. So this is the procedure for enforcing outside the DIFC in Dubai. So basically what you do is you just get your judgment or order translated into Arabic. You have a letter from the judge in the DIFC courts requesting enforcement, and they don't revisit the merits. And this is the procedure, which you'll all find in our enforcement guide available on our website for enforcement in the UAE outside of Dubai. And there's also various memoranda with other jurisdictions. So these are a number of the treaties that we have with other countries. So as I said, GCC Convention, you can enforce your judgment throughout the GCC, throughout the Arab world, through the Riyadh Convention. Also, there are bilateral treaties with Tunisia, France, India, China, Kazakhstan. And these memoranda, which we've entered into, basically are documents between ourselves and other commercial jurisdictions where we set out the principles and the procedure for enforcement of commercial judgments. So the first of which was entered into with the Commercial Court in England and Wales. We also have memoranda with Australia, Kenya, which opens up all of East Africa, Singapore, the Southern District of New York Court, Korea, which is a civil law jurisdiction, and there in this document you'll find the whole the principles and the procedure for enforcing enforcing judgments against assets in Korea. And then another novel innovation that we've had at the courts is that we've got this practice direction which allows parties, when they're choosing DIFC court jurisdiction, or if they're already covered by DIFC court's jurisdiction, to opt into referral to arbitration. So once you get a judgment, the judgment creditor can refer it to the arbitration center, the DIFC LCA Arbitration Center, which would convert it into an arbitral award, which you would be able to enforce throughout the New York Convention countries. And though we haven't seen a concrete example of this being enforced in practice, we've seen that various institutions, a number of banks, have actually put it into their contract. So that would leave it open for the creditor to refer the judgment for further enforcement. And another thing I'm working on now is discussions with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in the UAE to have the UAE sign up to the Hague Convention for enforcement of commercial judgments insofar as the DIFC is concerned, because you can choose for the convention to apply to a certain unit, and we're pushing for the UAE to sign it just for the DIFC, or perhaps also the other free zones which you have in the UAE. There is one also in Abu Dhabi, for example, Abu Dhabi Global Markets. And this is basically how we keep abreast of the latest issues, and we really have a very consultative approach with the legal community. Our rules subcommittee, we constantly look at rules, for example, developments in other jurisdictions. Someone was talking about experts. I think it was, for experts, for example, in our system, it would be the parties that appoint their experts, And we've also got a practice direction which allows for concurrent expert evidence, which was inspired by the developments in Australia. So you can have the judge allow experts to interview themselves, hot tubbing, which is common in the arbitration world, and which we've introduced into our system. We also have a pro bono program, so parties or people who cannot afford legal advice can avail of pro bono assistance. And everything's automated, so everything is available online. We're a paperless court. And these are certain accolades that we've had recently in the legal community. So the main idea of DIFC courts is basically offering choice. So for parties that come, or for investors in the region, they can choose English language common law, or they can go to the Arab language civil law courts. And also you'll see that although we're a court of limited jurisdiction, there are certain features from arbitration that have seeped into our system to offer the best possible dispute resolution system for business parties. So I'll just get, if anybody has any questions, perhaps we can address them in the Q&A. Thank you.